The Jacksonville Jaguars are quickly rising to stardom. The jump from worst to first last season was a great one to watch, and going into a season where the AFC South is very lackluster, it's time for more improvements on paper. I'm Chase Keller, and tune into this dive of the Jacksonville Jaguars, why I believe they will finish 11-6, and how they came up in 11th in my 2023 NFL Power Rankings. The Jaguars' offense took huge leaps for 2022, being top 10 in both yards forced and points scored. The jump was expected with a developing Trevor Lawrence, but it's hard to say that the casual fan expected a jump this large. So, let's discuss this offense. Let's start with Trevor Lawrence, who is on his way to becoming a superstar very soon. Lawrence had been scouted as a potential new competitor for NFL's QB1, and while he hasn't done too much to prove that upside, he's still coming close to the top. I currently have him ranked as the NFL's 9th best QB, and it's not too surprising. He has some fantastic passing traits and great mobility for his size. He just needs to work a little more on processing. Generally, Lawrence is a one-of-a-kind prospect that hasn't broken to his upside yet. There's so many points throughout last year that you could point out where Lawrence made an elite throw, but others where you could watch and discuss. The consistency isn't the issue though. Most young quarterbacks have consistency problems. Hopefully sooner than later, Lawrence will break into superstardom. I just want to mention that CJ Beathard may be the most underrated backup quarterback in the NFL, that's all. The running backs are an interesting group, with a lot of developing talents and upside to be great. Currently, it sits below average. Leading off the group is rising Travis Etienne, a fun guy to discuss. Etienne rose from a 71 to an 80 in 2022, and it's primarily due to his multiple ways of attack. Etienne was efficient in many different run types, as well as him showing flashes of being a great gadget player. Including the playoffs, he went for 1,637 total yards, and technically, this was his rookie season. Etienne receives breakout grade number 1 on this roster. There are 3 more breakout grades on this roster, so keep watching. Because of this versatility that he brings though, I'm expecting to see more snaps between the backup backs here. That starts with Dearness Johnson, who has spent 4 years with Cleveland. He is the definition of left behind, and 2021 is enough to convince me that he has upside to run a backfield. I mean, in the 3 games where he went over 10 carries in 2021, he averaged 5.6 yards a carry. The team also just drafted Tank Bigsby, who I thought was a slight reach. He's explosive with a prototypical frame, but he struggles with receiving and isn't really a 3-down back. The wide receiver core is very, very good. This group was primarily built through the last 2 off seasons, and while the core 2 years ago would be very solid, this group is significantly better. And it starts with Calvin Ridley, who is returning from his 1-year gambling suspension. When we last saw Ridley for a full year, we saw a developing receiver who went for nearly 1,400 yards in only his 3rd season. Ridley will benefit from a change of scenery with his elite route running and separation abilities. And this goes without saying that his 2020 season where he almost went for 1,400 yards, he played with a broken foot. Even if Ridley can't return to old form, the rest of the core is still very solid. Christian Kirk went off in his first year with Jacksonville, showing his value in the deep game. 57 of his 150 targets were from 10 or more yards out, and 21 of those were from 20 or more. A majority of this comes from the slot, and he may just be the best slot deep threat in the game. Zay Jones is a fair wide receiver 3 with his fantastic athleticism and alignment versatility. Jones was a nice stash receiver and wide receiver 2 talent last year, but more production is needed from him. Give him another year in Jacksonville's system and he will get there. Jamal Agnew is athletic. Parker Washington is athletic. It's just a room full of athletic wideouts here for Jacksonville. The tight ends could definitely improve, but they have that good tight end one who even plays like a wideout. Evan Ingram is a fun piece to this offense, given his tendencies to route run and make plays like a wide receiver. Ingram broke through in 2022, going for nearly 900 receiving yards. His hands also significantly improved, and that was my biggest nag of him going into the season. He dropped only 4.5% of his targets, which is a career low. Ingram may have a low rating, but I'm expecting that to continue rising as he went up 8 overall points in 2022. With T-Law on the brink of superstardom, Ingram receives breakout grade number 2 on this roster. And the other 2 guys are not too notable. Brenton Strange was a slight reach in the 2023 NFL Draft, but he is a prototypical tight end with a prototypical build and a prototypical skill set. The offensive line didn't take the large leaps and bounds as I projected, so it sits as an under-average line. Cam Robinson has been one of the more overrated blindside blockers throughout the last couple of seasons, and he's never been enough of a star in my opinion where he can make $18 million a year. Robinson is a very decent pass blocker, but when it comes to run blocking, oh boy is it bad. Robinson is also suspended for the first 4 games of the 2023 NFL season due to a PED suspension. An option to fill in for him is 2023 draft selection Anton Harrison, the current projected right tackle. This was another slight reach in the draft from Jacksonville, but I think at right tackle he will be fine. He's a little unathletic laterally, but upfield he is solid. He can both pass block and run block, and if he can keep that consistency, he should be a great right tackle. Just a note though, Walker Little will likely be the one to fill in at left tackle. Anyways, the interior offensive line is mediocre outside of Brandon Scherff. Scherff did fall off a bit in his first year at Jacksonville, but his rating being so high going into the season, he retains an 83 overall bid. The mediocrity starts with Ben Bartch, who can totally break out at any point. As of now, his bad run blocking and average pass blocking is going to hold him back, and Luke Fortner is too raw to have a great rating at the moment. When it comes to offensive coaching, it has shocked a lot of people in 2022 and should continue to shock them in 2023. I believe this coaching staff is consistently good. Doug Peterson runs several offensive schemes, and with Jacksonville, he was able to return to his Philly Super Bowl days and ball out with deception and consistency. The Jaguars offense really took massive leaps, and part of that has to go to Peterson's comeback and coaching. Besides, he learned from one of the best in Andy Reid. There's a lot to love and few to hate for Doug Peterson. To summarize, this offense has the talent and the coaching to retain top 10 abilities again. The hope is that T-Law continues to develop, and behind him they take the next step up to a top 5 offense. Now, let's discuss the defense. Since Jacksonville was separated, the Jaguars' defense has not been great. The defensive coaching has been mediocre, and the talent has never been any better. After an okay 2022 season being 12th in points yet 24th in yards, it's time to explore whether this defense will explode or not. So let's discuss this defense. This edge group is generally good, and it's got heavy upside to be even better. With one stud and a rising talent to develop behind him, this duo could be special. Josh Allen, the edge rusher Josh Allen, has consistently improved year by year. He played his first 1,000 snap season last year, and oh boy, was it great to watch. He came up 7th in pressures for 2022 with 77 of them. He may have been mediocre at finishing these plays, but his combination of athleticism and play strength is fantastic. If Josh Allen continues to improve, it's obvious enough that he will be a superstar by next season. That developing guy I was just talking about is Travon Walker, who didn't move in overall in 2022. He wasn't great, nor was he bad, but he was a consistent defender with a nice skill set. Walker is explosive with all-around athleticism and good technique. He was a bit raw as a rookie, but developing behind one of the NFL's best edge rushers is definitely going to help. He was the former number 1 overall pick, and with his upside, he gets breakout grade number 3 on this roster. The interior defensive linemen aren't terrible, but the development of them needs to show quicker, or else this group will stay terrible for years. Davon Hamilton showed heavy flashes of greatness last season, giving his all in both run and pass defense. The statistics showed for it, and now it's time to capitalize. He's got a good combination in athleticism and play strength, but he struggles in finishing plays. We will see if his new 3-year, $34.5 million contract will pay off. Folorenzo Fatukasi was a big underachiever in his first year with Jacksonville, but he's shown flashes of elite run defense in the past. That was absolutely gone in 2022, but the hope is that the change of scenery just caught him off guard, and he kicks off his second year with the Jags rolling. And Roy Robertson Harris was a consistent defender in 2022, and with him turning 30 just a couple of days ago, he's becoming that veteran leadership guy as he falls down the ladder. He's still an okay third option nonetheless. The linebackers are slightly better than the D-line, but the starting talents are debatably both better than the best D-lineman in Hamilton. Starting with Oluokun, he finally elevated himself to good status with Jacksonville in 2022, showing that a change of scenery was all he needed to become a starting worthy linebacker. Oluokun has always been a good run defender and an Iron Man linebacker, but he also elevated his run defense and his coverage for 2022. I think this is exactly what Devin White needs, which is a change of scenery to help elevate him to that next level. Not saying that Devin White isn't starting talent, I just think he's very overrated. And then with Lloyd, he is tied in overall with Hamilton, but in terms of 2022, Lloyd is the worst guy I've mentioned yet. Lloyd was one of the worst coverage linebackers in the NFL last year, but his run defense was up to par. As a whole though, he comes in the disappointing category for 2022. He started the year as a 75 overall and is now down to a 72. Those are really the only notable linebackers, so let's move on to the corners. The best part of the defense lies here, and looking at each player, this room could easily be one of the most underrated groups of any position across the league. Tyson Campbell kicks this group off, and I projected him to break out last season. After going over expectations in his rookie year, he blew up in 2022, becoming a top cornerback. Campbell is a very athletic corner with great instincts and all-around cornerback tendencies. This all proved in coverage where he allowed 9.7 yards per catch and broke up 9 passes. After him is Darius Williams, who has started to fall in overall a little bit. This shouldn't be too loud, as he is still a quality starting corner. Williams is a disruptive passer with elite ball skills, and that just shows with his 36 pass breakups over the last 3 years. He's just not a great run supporter, which makes sense given his very small frame. Rookie Antonio Johnson is either going to play corner or safety, but to manipulate the rating like I always do, he falls in at corner. This should say enough about his top tier versatility, but he is a bit undisciplined and needs to work on that for the NFL. Speaking of safeties, they fall in the under average category. The problem isn't the lack of good safeties, it's the lack of a great or elite safety. The best guy they got is 74 overall Andre Cisco. I was not high on Cisco as a prospect, but he's proven me wrong with his fluency and very solid run support. Give Cisco a couple of years working as a team's best safety, and he will become something special. Jacksonville ties it up with a couple of other teams for most breakout grades on a roster, as Cisco is breakout grade number 4 here. Even after Cisco, Jacksonville has Andrew Wingard and Rayshawn Jenkins, 2 safeties who can ball at given points. Wingard definitely needs more time on the field, as he has stayed consistent in his development to bigger heights. As for Jenkins, he's likely going to start beside Cisco, but I'm not a fan of his coverage at all. I believe he's worth the position where he can play in stack and box alignments and work in run support. Allowing 79% of targets to be caught is not a pretty statistic. Yet when he consistently puts pressure on the rusher and even the passer at some points, that just proves my point even more. The defensive coaching went over expectations last season, and with a better roster compared to last year, it's time for Mike Caldwell to shine. Caldwell is a 3-4 coach who loves to pressure the quarterback. His scheme helped elevate talents like Josh Allen near superstardom and Davon Hamilton into the reliable lineman category. Nothing really suffered on this defense either, and with a solid draft board for defense, this could be perfect for Caldwell. Rayshawn Jenkins and Antonio Johnson can both jump in and help out the pass rush heavily. Time will tell if Caldwell is worthy of a defensive coordinator spot. To summarize, this defensive talent isn't anything better than average, but it has upside everywhere on the field. So honestly, defensive coordinator Mike Caldwell is the X factor for this defense. Finally, let's discuss the rating splits. Before I end every video, I go through the rating splits for offense, defense, special teams, coaching, and team. If you are interested in how the rating system works, it is in the description below. To kick us off, the offense came out at a 77.15, which is 9th in the NFL, 7th in the AFC, and first in the AFC South. The defense came out at a 73.35, which is 19th in the NFL, 12th in the AFC, and second in the AFC South. The special teams came out at a 76.86, which is second in the NFL, second in the AFC, and first in the AFC South. And coaching is at a 77 out of 80, which is tied for 16th in the NFL, tied for 9th in the AFC, and second in the AFC South. Finally, the team came out at a 76.0177, which is .0002 better than 12th place Detroit Lions. If you haven't watched that video yet, go ahead and watch it. It was a very close call between these two teams. But anywho, this is first in the AFC South, 7th in the AFC, and 11th in the NFL. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. There's 10 teams left. We're entering the top 10, and you're missing out if you're not subscribed. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.